The chamber was enormous. It floated in space, orbiting a dying star that had watched civilizations rise and fall for billions of years. Inside the chamber, 12 thrones stood in a circle, each one holding a member of the Galactic Council. These were not ordinary beings. They were ancient, powerful, and they controlled everything. Ambassador Jiwoo stood in the center of the circle. She was human, and she looked very small compared to the massive aliens around her. Her dark suit was simple and plain. Her face showed no fear, even though her heart was beating fast. She had been summoned here to answer for what her people had done. Human. The voice echoed through the chamber. It came from Counselor Vrekis, a creature that looked like a giant reptile covered in dark green scales. His eyes were cold and yellow. "Do you understand why you stand before us today?" Jiwoo nodded. "I do, Counselor. You discovered that Earth has developed railgun technology." "Developed?" Another counselor spoke. This one was made entirely of light, shifting between blue and purple colors. Counselor Ulmara's voice sounded like music and thunder at the same time. "You violated the Technology Limitation Treaty, the treaty that your species signed 50 years ago when we welcomed you into our council." Jiwoo took a breath. She had prepared for this moment for weeks. "We did not violate anything. We created something new, using our own knowledge and resources. The treaty says we cannot use certain weapons. It does not say we cannot invent them." The chamber filled with noise. Some counselors made angry sounds. Others remained silent. Vrekis raised one massive claw, and the noise stopped immediately. "You play with words, human," Vrekis said slowly. His tail moved behind his throne like a snake. "The treaty exists to protect the galaxy. 10,000 years ago, young species like yours used kinetic weapons. They destroyed entire worlds. Billions died. Stars were extinguished. We created the treaty to prevent such horror from happening again." Jiwoo felt anger rising in her chest, but she kept her voice calm. "With respect, Counselor, that was not us. Humans were not part of those wars. We should not be punished for what others did thousands of years before we even left our planet." "The pattern repeats," another counselor spoke. This one looked like a floating brain inside a glass case filled with green liquid. "Young species always believe they are different. They always think they can control power better than those who came before. They are always wrong." Jiwoo clenched her fists at her sides. "So we should remain weak? We should never advance? We should trust that you will always protect us?" "Yes," Vrekis said simply. "That is exactly what you should do. We have maintained peace for 10,000 years. Our system works." "Your system keeps us trapped," Jiwoo said, her voice rising slightly. "You give us just enough technology to survive, but never enough to truly thrive. You control our trade routes. You limit our expansion. You decide what we can learn and what we cannot. This is not peace. This is control." The chamber erupted again. This time, the noise was louder. Several counselors shouted at once. Jiwoo could not understand their languages, but she knew they were angry. Very angry. Counselor Ulmara dimmed her light, which seemed to be her way of looking sad. "Ambassador, please understand. We do not do this to be cruel. We do this because we have seen what happens when species advance too quickly. They destroy themselves, or they destroy others. The rules exist for good reasons. Maybe they did once," Jiwoo replied. She looked directly at Ulmara. "But now? Now they exist, to keep you in power, to make sure no young species ever becomes strong enough to challenge the old ones." Silence fell over the chamber. It was the kind of silence that felt heavy and dangerous. Jiwoo realized she might have gone too far, but she did not take her words back. They were true. Vrekis stood up from his throne. He was at least 4 times taller than Jiwoo. His shadow covered her completely. You dare accuse this council of corruption? You, who represent a species barely 50 years old in galactic society. You know nothing of what we have sacrificed to maintain order. Our tuberdu. When the down from Cineri, our redder. When the down from Midian. When the Berdu. Our redderly seven madig. When the Balatig in grand formatig. Our redderly Cineri. Our redderly Cineri. Then teach us, Jiwoo said, looking up at him. Share your knowledge freely. Instead of keeping it locked away. Let us learn. Let us grow. Trust us to make our own choices. We cannot, Vrekus said. The Council will now vote on appropriate sanctions for humanity's violation of the treaty. You may not speak further. Well, Jiwoo wanted to argue, but she knew it was useless. She watched as each counselor cast their vote. The system was simple. Blue light meant mercy. Red light meant punishment. One by one, red lights appeared above 11 thrones. Only Counselor Ulmara cast a blue light. The decision is made, Vrekus announced. Effective immediately. Earth's trade routes are blocked. No council species may conduct business with humanity. Furthermore, all human vessels are forbidden from traveling beyond your home solar system. Any ship that violates this order will be destroyed. These sanctions will remain in place until humans surrender all railgun technology and submit to enhanced monitoring. Jiwoo felt her stomach twist. This was worse than she expected. Earth depended on trade with other worlds. The Mars colony needed food shipments. The asteroid miners needed supplies. Without trade, people would starve. You cannot do this, she said quietly. This is a death sentence. It is a consequence, Vrekus replied. Obey our rules, and your people will thrive. Defy us, and they will suffer. The choice has always been yours, Ambassador. Jiwoo looked around the chamber one last time. She saw ancient beings who believed they knew what was best for everyone. She saw fear hiding behind rules. She saw a system built on control rather than cooperation. No, she said clearly. The choice is not mine. It belongs to all humanity. And I can tell you right now what they will choose. They will not surrender. They will not bow, and they will not forget this. She turned and walked toward the exit. The doors opened automatically, sensing her approach. Behind her, she heard Vrekus speak one final time. Then your species will learn a hard lesson, Ambassador. The Council has stood for 10,000 years. It will stand for 10,000 more. Humanity is nothing but dust in the wind of time. Jiwoo stepped through the doors. They closed behind her with a sound like thunder. As she walked down the long corridor toward her ship, she felt something she had never felt before when dealing with the Council. She felt determined. The Council thought they could break humanity with sanctions and threats. They thought humans would beg for forgiveness and surrender their weapons. They were wrong. Jiwoo knew her people. She knew their history. Humans did not break. They adapted. They innovated. They survived. And somewhere back on Earth, in a hidden base on the moon, scientists were working on something the Council could not even imagine. Something that would change everything. Jiwoo smiled as she boarded her ship. The Council had made their move. Now it was humanity's turn. The moon looked peaceful from space. But inside Tycho Crater, something secret was happening. Deep underground, below layers of rock and metal, Moonbase Gamma hummed with activity. Most people on Earth did not know this place existed. That was exactly how Director Salmon wanted it. She stood in the main conference room, watching as her team filed in one by one. They all looked tired. The news about the Council's sanctions had reached them 3 hours ago. Everyone knew what it meant. Earth was being strangled slowly. Dr. Mireille entered last. She had just returned from a supply run to Earth's orbital station. Her face was pale, and her hands shook slightly as she sat down. She had seen the Council ships taking position around Earth's trade routes. She had watched them turn away a cargo vessel carrying medicine to Mars. How bad is it? Director Salmon asked. Mireille swallowed hard. 3 weeks. Maybe 4 if we ration carefully. That is how long Mars' colony can survive without resupply. The asteroid miners are in better shape, but the Europa research station will run out of food in 2 months. Engineer Hyunwoo slammed his fist on the table. He was young, barely 30 years old, but he was the smartest propulsion expert humanity had ever produced. This is insane. They are killing people to prove a point. They are proving they have power, Captain Daehyun said calmly. He was older than the others, with gray hair and scars from Earth's last major war before first contact. He had seen death before. And they are showing us what happens when we step out of line. Agent Yuna was checking her datapad, her fingers moving quickly across the screen. It gets worse. I am detecting Council surveillance drones in near-Earth orbit. 17 of them so far. They are watching everything we do. Director Salmon nodded slowly. She had expected this. The Council did not trust humans. They probably never had. Then we need to be very careful about what we do next. She pressed a button on the table. The lights dimmed, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed complex equations and 3-dimensional models of something that looked like a doorway made of light. Most of you know that Moonbase Gamma has been working on experimental technology for 10 years, Salmon said. We have been very quiet about it. Very careful. Not even Ambassador Jiwoo knows the full details. Dr. Mireille stood up and walked closer to the hologram. She touched it, and the image rotated. The Council thinks railguns are our most dangerous technology. They are wrong. Railguns were just the beginning. She expanded the image, showing the interior mechanisms of the strange doorway. We call it quantum displacement technology. Most people would call it teleportation. The room went completely silent. Even Captain Daehyun, who rarely showed emotion, leaned forward in his chair. You can teleport matter? Hyunwoo whispered. How far? In theory? Mireille smiled, but it was a tired smile. Anywhere in the universe. Instantly. We fold space-time itself, creating a tunnel between 2 points. Objects enter one end and emerge from the other with 0 travel time. In theory, Captain Daehyun repeated. What about in practice? Mireille's smile faded. We have successfully teleported small objects up to 100 kilometers. Anything larger or further tends to. She paused, searching for the right word. Disintegrate is perhaps too strong a word. Let us say the atoms arrive at the destination, but not in the correct order. That is a polite way of saying it fails, Agent Yuna said quietly. Yes, Mireille admitted. The calculations required are immense. We need to account for quantum uncertainty, space-time curvature, gravitational interference, and about 200 other variables. One mistake, and whatever we send through stops existing as a coherent object. Director Salmon cleared her throat. Doctor, please tell them about last week's test. Doctor. Mireille nodded and changed the hologram. It now showed a video recording. In the video, a small metal cube sat on a platform. Numbers counted down on the screen. When they reached 0, the cube vanished. The video switched to show another platform, 500 kilometers away. The cube appeared there. Perfectly intact. 500 kilometers, Hyunwoo breathed. That is 5 times further than your previous record. And we did it 3 more times with the same success rate, Mireille said. The breakthrough came when we stopped trying to calculate every variable, and instead used quantum probability matrices. We let the universe tell us where things should go, rather than forcing them. Captain Daehyun stood up. This is incredible technology. But why are you showing us now? Why not wait until it is perfect? Director Salmon's face was grim. Because we do not have time to wait. The Council's sanctions will kill thousands of people. We need leverage, and we need it fast. This technology could change everything. You want to test it on a person, Yuna said. It was not a question. We need to prove it works for living beings, Salmon replied. And we need to do it soon. Very soon. Mireille looked uncomfortable. Director, with respect, we are not ready for human testing. The longest distance we have achieved is 500 kilometers. The margin of error is still too high. There is a 30% chance that a human subject would not survive the journey. 30% is better than the 100% chance that Mars colonists die when their food runs out, Hyunwoo said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. He met their eyes without flinching. I am not saying we should be careless, but Director Soman is right. We are running out of time. The Council is strangling us. We need something that gives us power they cannot take away. Agent Yuna's datapad beeped. She looked at it, and her face went pale. We have a bigger problem. I am detecting a Council observation ship. Changing course. It is heading toward Earth. It will be in scanning range in 72 hours. Can they detect this base? Daehyun asked. Not directly, Yuna replied. But if they scan deep enough, they might notice the power signatures. This base uses enormous amounts of energy. We have been careful to mask it, but their sensors are very advanced. Director Soman made a decision. She could see it in the way her shoulders straightened and her jaw set. We move forward with human testing. I want to volunteer, a complete safety protocol, and a test plan within 48 hours. If the Council ship discovers this base before we prove the technology works, they will shut us down permanently. And if the test fails? Mireille asked softly. Then someone dies, Soman said bluntly. But if we do nothing, many more people die slowly. I do not like these choices. But they are the only ones we have. Captain Daehyun nodded. I will put out a call for volunteers. There are soldiers on this base who understand the stakes. Someone will step forward. Make sure they understand the risks, Mireille insisted. All of them. We are asking someone to be the first human to teleport across space. They might die in ways we cannot predict or prevent. They will understand, Daehyun said, but they will volunteer anyway. That is what humans do. We take risks. We push forward. The Council thinks that makes us reckless. Maybe they are right. But it also makes us survivors. The meeting ended, and people filed out slowly. Each person carried the weight of what they had learned. Somewhere in the base, someone would soon make the choice to risk everything, to step into a machine that might kill them or might change human history forever. Dr. Murray stayed behind, staring at the hologram. The equations floated in the air like ghosts. She had created this technology. She had dreamed of what it could do for humanity, but she had never imagined they would need to use it so desperately, so soon. Engineer Hyunwoo paused at the door and looked back at her. We can do this, Mireille. The math is solid. You know it is. The math was solid for the space shuttle too, Mireille said quietly. Until Challenger exploded. Then we make sure this does not explode, Hyunwoo said firmly. We check everything twice, 3 times. We do not rush more than we have to. But we also do not give up. The Council wants us afraid. They want us weak. We show them they were wrong to push us. Mireille looked at him and saw the determination in his eyes. It reminded her why she had become a scientist in the first place. Not to play it safe. Not to follow rules. But to reach for impossible things and make them real. 3 days, she said. Give me 3 days to improve the safety protocols. Then we test. Hyunwoo smiled. 3 days. The Council ship will still be 2 days away. Perfect. He left, and Mireille was alone with her equations. Somewhere above her, beyond layers of rock and metal and vacuum, Earth hung in space, like a blue jewel. On that planet, billions of people went about their lives, not knowing that their future might depend on whether a machine worked exactly as designed. No pressure, Mireille thought darkly. Just the fate of the entire human species. She got to work. Lieutenant Jinwoo stood in front of the teleportation chamber and tried not to think about dying. He had volunteered 3 days ago, right after Captain Daehyun sent out the call. He did it without hesitation, without doubt. Now, looking at the massive machine that might kill him. He felt his stomach twist into knots. The chamber was built into the deepest level of Moonbase Gamma. It looked like a large metal ring standing upright, about 3 meters tall and 2 meters wide. Inside the ring, nothing existed except empty space. But when the machine activated, that space would tear open. Reality itself would bend. Doctor. Mirai approached him, carrying a small data pad. Her eyes had dark circles under them. She had not slept in 3 days. How are you feeling? 5. 5-1. 5-1. 5-1. Terrified, Jinwoo admitted. But ready. Mirai almost smiled. Good. Terror means you understand the risks. Ready means you will do it anyway. She held up the datapad. I need you to confirm one more time that you understand what might happen. Jinwoo nodded. I understand. There is a chance my body will not survive the teleportation. There is a chance I will arrive at the destination, but my organs will be in the wrong places. There is a chance I will simply stop existing. He paused. There is also a chance it will work perfectly, and I will be the first human to teleport across space. 50 astronomical units, Dr. Hannah added. She was the medical officer, and she stood nearby with a full emergency kit. That is about 7 billion kilometers, 50 times the distance from Earth to the Sunday. If this works, Jinwoo, you will have traveled further in 1 second than any human has traveled in their entire life. If it works, Jinwoo repeated quietly. Engineer Hyunwoo was checking the quantum field generators. There were 12 of them arranged around the chamber, each one the size of a car. They hummed with barely contained energy. All systems are green. Power levels are stable. Space-time calculations are confirmed. We are ready when you are. Lieutenant, Captain Daehyun walked over and placed a hand on Jinwoo's shoulder. Jinwoo looked at the older man. My sister lived on Mars. She worked in the hydroponic farms, growing food for the colony. 3 months ago, she got sick. Some kind of infection. The medicine she needed was coming from Earth on the next supply ship. He stopped, his voice catching. The council blocked that ship. She died 2 weeks ago. The room went silent. Everyone knew people were suffering because of the sanctions. But hearing a specific story made it real, made it personal. I am sorry, Daehyun said quietly. Do not be sorry, Jinwoo replied. Just make sure this counts for something. If I die today, let it be for a reason. Let it help break the council's control. Agent Yuna's voice crackled over the intercom. We have a problem. The council observation ship just accelerated. New calculations show it will be in scanning range in 6 hours, not 2 days. They must have detected something. Director Salmon's voice followed immediately. We proceed now. We have no choice. If they discover this base before we complete the test, everything we have built becomes worthless. Lieutenant Jinwoo, are you prepared? Jinwoo took a deep breath. 6 hours. Dr. Mirai looked sick, but she nodded. Put on the biomonitor suit. It will track every system in your body during the jump. If something goes wrong, the data might help us save the next volunteer. Jinwoo pulled on the thin silver suit. It covered him from neck to feet, with sensors everywhere. Doctor. Hana attached the final connections and checked her medical display. Heart rate elevated but stable. Blood pressure normal. Brain activity normal. You are cleared for the attempt. 50 astronomical units away, beyond the Kuiper belt at the edge of the solar system, Captain Daehyun's recovery ship waited. The ship was small and fast, designed for quick missions. Daehyun had flown there himself, leaving his second-in-command to monitor the moon base. If Jinwoo arrived alive, Daehyun would be there to help him. If Jinwoo died, Daehyun would bring the body home. Recovery ship in position. Daehyun's voice came through the speakers. Destination chamber, powered and ready. Whenever you are ready. Moon base. Jinwoo walked to the chamber. His legs felt weak, but he forced them to move. One step, then another. He reached the edge of the metal ring and stopped. Beyond the ring was the space where reality would tear open, where he would cease to exist in one place and begin existing in another. "Wait, engineer," Hyunwoo called out. "Jinwoo, one more thing. When the jump happens, you might see something." People who have been under quantum displacement fields report strange sensations. Colors that do not exist. Sounds that make no sense. Do not be afraid. 10. It is just your brain trying to understand something it was not designed to perceive. "Understood," Jinwoo said. "I will try to remember that while I am being torn apart and reassembled." Someone laughed nervously. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Dr. Mirai stood at the main control console. Her fingers hovered over the activation switch. "Lieutenant Jinwoo, step into the chamber. Stand in the center. Do not move once the field activates." Jinwoo stepped through the ring. The floor inside the chamber was marked with a white circle. He stood in the exact center and spread his feet shoulder-width apart for balance. Around him, the quantum field generators began to glow. A soft, blue light filled the ring. 30 seconds to activation, Mirai announced. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook. "All personnel, activate safety shields. This is not a drill." Around the room, people moved behind protective barriers. The quantum field could be dangerous if it destabilized. It could create radiation. It could create a gravity well. It could do things that physics textbooks said were impossible. 20 seconds. Power at 90%. Space-time calculations locked in. Destination coordinates confirmed. Jinwoo closed his eyes. He thought about his sister. He thought about the Mars colonists who were running out of food. He thought about Earth, trapped and helpless under the Council's rules. He thought about all the humans who refused to give up, who kept fighting even when the universe seemed against them. 10 seconds. Power at 100%. Field generators active. "Lieutenant, this is your last chance to abort." Jinwoo opened his eyes. "Do it." 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jump. The world exploded into light and sound and something else that had no name. Jinwoo felt himself being pulled apart at the atomic level. He felt every cell in his body scream. He felt his consciousness stretch across impossible distances. He saw colors that hurt to look at. He heard music and thunder and silence all at once, and then he saw the space between spaces. The place where reality was thin, where the universe folded in on itself like paper. It was beautiful and terrifying and wrong in ways he could not describe. It lasted forever. It lasted less than a second. Suddenly, Jinwoo was standing in another chamber. This one was identical to the first, but smaller. His legs nearly gave out, but he caught himself. His heart was pounding so hard, he thought it might explode. His skin felt wrong, like it did not quite fit his body anymore. "Jinwoo." Captain Daehyun rushed over, grabbing his arm to steady him. "Can you hear me? Can you speak?" Jinwoo opened his mouth. His tongue felt strange, his throat felt dry, but words came out. Back on the moon, the control room erupted in cheers. Dr. Mirai stared at her displays in disbelief. All of Jinwoo's biosigns were normal. Heart rate elevated, but slowing. Brain activity normal. Organ function normal. He had teleported 7 billion kilometers in 0 time, and he was alive. "We did it," Hyunwoo whispered. "We actually did it." But Dr. Mirai was not celebrating. She was looking at another screen, one that showed quantum signature readings. The teleportation had created a massive energy signature that rippled through space-time like a stone thrown into a pond. That signature would be detectable across light years. "The Council will know," she said quietly. "They will know what we have done within days, maybe hours." Agent Yuna was already at her station, tracking the Council observation ship. "They just changed course again. They are coming straight toward Earth now." Full speed. They detected something. In the recovery ship, Captain Daehyun helped Jinwoo sit down. The young lieutenant was shaking, but he was smiling. "Captain, I saw it. I saw the space between spaces. It was like looking at the skeleton of the universe. Everything connected. Everything touching everything else." "Rest now," Daehyun said. "You just made history." Director Salmon's voice came through the speakers, addressing everyone in the moon base and the recovery ship. "Well done, everyone. You have achieved something impossible. But now the hard work begins. The Council knows what we have. They will come for us. They will try to take this technology or destroy it. We have maybe a week before they arrive in force. We need to decide what we do next." Jinwoo looked up at Daehyun. "What we do next is share it. Give the technology to everyone. Every human colony. Every ship. Make it so the Council cannot put the genie back in the bottle." Daehyun nodded slowly. "That would start a war." "The war already started," Jinwoo said. "The moment the Council decided to starve us for daring to innovate. We just did not fight back. Until now." In the moon base, Dr. Mireille stared at her screens. The quantum signature was fading, but it had been bright enough to see across the galaxy. Humanity had just announced its presence in a way that could not be ignored or denied. They had done the impossible. They had broken the laws of physics that the Council said were unbreakable. And now, there would be consequences. Mireille just hoped those consequences would not destroy them all. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within hours of detecting the quantum signature. Councillor Vreckis stood at his throne, his massive reptilian body rigid with fury. Around the chamber, the other 11 councillors showed various signs of alarm, confusion, and in one case, what might have been admiration. "Impossible," Vreckis hissed. The word echoed through the chamber like a curse. "Quantum displacement technology requires computational power beyond anything humans possess. They have been a spacefaring species for barely a century. They cannot have achieved this." Councillor Ulmara dimmed and brightened rapidly, her light forms equivalent of agitation. Yet the signature is unmistakable. Space-time was folded across 50 astronomical units. The energy readings are consistent with successful matter transference. Either humans have achieved teleportation, or something else has happened that we do not understand. A third councillor spoke. This one resembled a giant insect, with multiple eyes that reflected every color. "Perhaps they stole the technology. Perhaps another species gave it to them in defiance of our sanctions." "No species would dare," Vreckis said firmly. "We control all major trade routes. We monitor all communications. If humans had outside help, we would know." The doors to the chamber opened. Ambassador Jiwoo walked in, flanked by 2 human guards. She had been summoned directly from her ship, given no time to prepare formal remarks. But her face showed no fear, no hesitation. "Ambassador," Vreckis said coldly, "you stand accused of violating galactic law a second time. First, your species created railguns in defiance of the Technology Limitation Treaty. Now, you have developed quantum displacement technology. This is a Level 5 violation. The penalty is complete isolation. Your species will have no contact with the galactic community until you surrender all advanced technology and submit to permanent monitoring." Jiwoo walked to the center of the chamber. She took her time, letting her footsteps echo. When she reached the middle, she looked up at Vreckis and smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Counselor, I have a better idea. Humanity will share quantum displacement technology freely with any species that wants it. We will provide full schematics, training, and technical support. In exchange, the Council will immediately rescind all technology limitation treaties for every species in the galaxy." The chamber erupted. Councillors shouted in multiple languages. Some were angry. Some were shocked. A few seemed interested. "You have no right to make such offers," Vreckis roared. "You do not speak for the Council. I speak for humanity. Jiwoo replied calmly. And we are done asking permission to exist. We are done being controlled. We offer knowledge freely because we believe progress belongs to everyone, not just the old and powerful. Counselor Ulmara moved closer, her light pulsing thoughtfully. Ambassador, you must understand what you are proposing. Quantum displacement technology in the wrong hands could devastate the galaxy. Imagine pirates who can teleport past any defense. Imagine terrorists who can appear anywhere without warning. The dangers are immense. I'm Mechen. So are the benefits, Jiwoo countered. Imagine colonies that can receive supplies instantly. Imagine rescue ships that arrive in seconds instead of weeks. Imagine trade that spans the galaxy in heartbeats. Yes, there are dangers. There are always dangers. But we cannot let fear stop us from moving forward. You sound like a child, Vrekis said with disgust. Playing with forces you do not understand. The Council has maintained order for 10,000 years, precisely by controlling such technologies. We limit advancement to prevent chaos. You limit advancement to prevent competition, a new voice said. Everyone turned. Elder Corvin had spoken. He rarely participated in council debates, preferring to observe and record. Elder Corvan belonged to the archival species, beings whose entire civilization was dedicated to preserving history. He was ancient, even by council standards, and his words carried weight. What did you say? Vrekis asked carefully. Corvin's form was difficult to describe. He appeared as a collection of geometric shapes that constantly rearranged themselves, as if reality could not quite decide what he should look like. When he spoke, his voice sounded like pages turning in an old book. I said you limit advancement to prevent competition, Corvan repeated. I have been part of this council for 7,000 years. I have watched as the technology limitation treaties were created. I was there. Corvan. I have been part of this council. Corvan. I remember what was said in private meetings, what was written in documents that were later destroyed. Those records are sealed, Vrekis said, his voice low and dangerous. They were sealed, Corvan agreed. But I am the archivist. Nothing is truly sealed from me. He turned to address all the counselors. The treaties were not created to prevent war. They were created to prevent obsolescence. The founding species of this council feared that younger, more innovative civilizations would surpass them. So, they created rules to keep everyone else limited, while maintaining their own advantages. The chamber went completely silent. Even Vrekis seemed unable to speak. The truth hung in the air like a guillotine blade. That is a lie, Vrekis finally said. The treaties protect everyone. They prevent the horrors of the ancient wars from happening again. The ancient wars were terrible. Corvin agreed. But they ended 3,000 years before the treaties were written. The treaties were not a response to war. They were a response to peace, to younger species using that peace to grow and advance. The founding species saw their dominance threatened, so they created a system to maintain it forever. Ambassador Jiwoo watched as several counselors exchanged glances. She could see doubt spreading among them. Not all counselors were part of the founding species. Some represented civilizations that had joined the council later, civilizations that had been forced to accept the same limitations. If this is true, Counselor Ulmara said slowly, then everything the council stands for is based on a lie. Not a lie, Corvin said. A half-truth. The treaties do prevent some dangers, but they also prevent growth, exploration, and the natural evolution of civilizations. We have kept the galaxy stable for 10,000 years, yes, but we have also kept it stagnant. A counselor from one of the younger species stood up. He was humanoid, with blue skin and silver eyes. My people have waited 800 years for permission to develop better propulsion systems. We were told it was for our own safety. Was that a lie? 6-9. We're 6-9. 6-9. 6-9. Another counselor, this one resembling a floating cluster of crystals, spoke next. My civilization requested access to advanced medical technology 40 years ago, technology that could have saved millions of lives. We were denied. Was that to protect us? Or to protect the Council's control? That's way. More voices joined in. The chamber filled with questions, accusations, and demands for answers. The unity of the Council was cracking. Vrekus tried to restore order. Silence. This is irrelevant. Whatever the reasons for the treaties, they exist now, and they must be obeyed. Humanity has violated them twice. The penalties must be enforced, or the Council loses all authority. Perhaps it should, Ambassador Jiwoo said quietly, but her voice carried through the chamber somehow, cutting through the noise. Perhaps a council that rules through fear and control should lose its authority. Perhaps it is time for something new, something based on cooperation instead of domination. You dare. Vrekus began. But Councillor Ulmara interrupted him. I call for a vote, she said. I move to suspend the technology limitation treaties for all species. Let each civilization decide for themselves what technologies they will develop. Let us trust in the judgment of all species, not just the old ones. This is madness, Vrekus shouted. You would destroy everything we have built. What we have built is a cage, Ulmara replied. A beautiful, safe cage, but a cage nonetheless. I vote to open the door. The voting began. It was chaotic, with councillors arguing even as they cast their lights. Red for maintaining the treaties, blue for suspending them. The lights flickered throughout the chamber as decisions were made and changed and made again. When it was done, the results glowed in the center of the chamber. 17 blue lights. 10 red lights. 3 abstentions. The technology limitation treaties were suspended. Vrekus stared at the results as if he had been struck. This is temporary, he said, his voice shaking with rage. You will regret this decision. Chaos will follow. War will follow. And when it does, you will come begging for the old order to be restored. Maybe, Jiwoo said. Or maybe we will build something better. Something where species work together, instead of being controlled from above. I guess we will find out. She turned to leave, but Vrekus spoke again. Ambassador, we are not done. Even if the treaties are suspended, humanity still faces consequences for their violations. I am calling a vote to authorize a containment fleet. If humans will not be controlled by law, they will be controlled by force. Jiwoo stopped. She turned back slowly. If you send a fleet against Earth, Counselor, you will discover something important about humans. We are very good at fighting back. Is that a threat? It is a promise, Jiwoo said. You have 7 days. That is how long it will take for Earth to produce enough quantum displacement platforms to share with every species that wants them. After that, the galaxy changes forever, and no fleet will be able to stop it. She walked out of the chamber. Behind her, the council dissolved into arguments and accusations. Alliances that had lasted thousands of years were breaking apart. New coalitions were forming. The galaxy was transforming, and no one knew if the change would lead to enlightenment or disaster. Back on the moon, Director Salmon received Ambassador Jiwoo's report. The council is fractured, Salmon told her team, but Vrekus is not finished. He will try to strike at us before we can share the technology. Doctor. Mireille looked up from her workstation. She had not slept in days. Then we work faster. How many species have requested the teleportation schematics? 17 so far, Salmon said, and the number is growing every hour. Younger species see this as their chance for freedom. But we need to defend Earth while we work. Vrekus might send ships. Captain Daehyun stepped forward. If he does, we will be ready. Lieutenant Jinwoo gave us an idea before he went to the medical bay. If we can teleport people, we can teleport weapons. We can create defensive platforms that appear instantly wherever they are needed. No fleet can fight against that. Salmon nodded slowly. Weaponizing teleportation. The Council will see that as the ultimate threat. Then they should not have threatened us. Daehyun said simply. The war for galactic freedom had begun, not with ships and armies, but with ideas and innovation. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the Council was not in control. 6 days after the Council vote, Councillor Vrekis made his move. He assembled a strike fleet of 37 warships, vessels from the founding species that still believed in the old order. The fleet's mission was simple: reach Earth, disable their quantum displacement technology, and arrest the human leadership for trial. It was a small fleet by galactic standards, but it was enough to destroy a single planet's defenses. Vrekis did not believe humans could mount effective resistance. They were too young, too inexperienced in warfare against advanced species. He was wrong. The fleet approached Earth's solar system in standard formation, weapons charged but not yet targeting specific locations. Fleet Commander Taeho, a human admiral who had taken command of Earth's defensive forces, watched them come on his tactical display. 37 ships, he said calmly. They are trying to intimidate us. Beside him, Dr. Mireille monitored the quantum displacement network. In 6 days, working without sleep, her team had built 50 teleportation platforms around Earth's orbital space. Each platform could instantly deploy defensive weapons, shield generators, or even small ships to any point within 100,000 kilometers. They are hailing us, the communications officer reported. Put them through, Taeho said. A hologram appeared, showing a tall, armored figure from one of the founding species. Human vessels, you are ordered to power down all weapons and prepare to be boarded. Refusal will result in the destruction of your defensive installations. You have 1 minute to comply. Taeho smiled. It was not a warm smile. Tell your counselor, we decline. And tell him this: humanity does not threaten. We demonstrate. The communication cut off. The strike fleet prepared to fire. Their weapons targeted the orbital platforms, intending to destroy Earth's defenses in the opening salvo. They never got the chance. Around the strike fleet, space itself seemed to tear open. 50 quantum portals activated simultaneously, and through each one came a defensive platform. Not small ones. Not makeshift installations. Full military-grade weapon systems with railguns, missile batteries, and shield generators. Within 3 seconds, the Council fleet found itself surrounded by a defensive network that had appeared from nowhere. Every ship was targeted by multiple weapons. Every escape route was covered. Hold fire, Taeho ordered. Let them see what we could do, but choose not to. The strike fleet commander stared at his tactical display in disbelief. His entire fleet was in a kill box. If the humans fired, none of his ships would survive. But the humans were not firing. They were waiting. Recall your fleet, Commander, Taeho said over the open channel. We could destroy you right now. We are choosing not to. Take that message back to the Council. Tell them Earth is not defenseless. Tell them we do not want war. But if war comes, we will fight in ways they cannot predict or counter. The fleet commander was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, his ships began to power down their weapons. We are withdrawing, but this is not over, human. No, Taeho agreed. It is not. The galaxy is changing. You can change with it, or you can be left behind. The choice is yours. The Council fleet departed. Not a single shot had been fired. Earth's demonstration of teleportation-based defense had proven the point more effectively than any battle could have. News of the confrontation spread across the galaxy within hours. Species that had feared the Council's military might suddenly realized that power could be countered with innovation. The balance that had been maintained for 10,000 years was broken forever. 3 weeks later, Ambassador Jiwoo stood before what used to be the Galactic Council. The chamber looked different now. More thrones had been added, representing younger species that had never been allowed full membership. The old hierarchy was dissolving. After then, Counselor Ulmara addressed the assembly. She had become the de facto leader of the reform faction. We propose a new governing body. Not a council that rules through limitation, but a cooperative that shares knowledge freely. We call it the Galactic Cooperative. All species, regardless of age or technological level, have equal representation. The vote was nearly unanimous. Only Vreekus and 2 other founding species councilors opposed it. But they were outvoted by the dozens of species that embraced the change. After the session, Counselor Ulmara approached Jiwoo privately. Ambassador, on behalf of the Reform faction, I must thank you, and I must apologize. My species supported the limitation treaties for 3,000 years. We believed we were protecting the galaxy. Instead, we were protecting our own position. Andesis. 1. Jiwoo nodded. I appreciate your honesty, Counselor. The question now is what we do next. The treaties are gone. The old council is dissolved. But we still face the same dangers that created the treaties in the first place. Species will develop powerful technologies. Some will use them unwisely. Then we help them use them wisely, Ulmara said. Not through control, but through education and support. We share not just technology, but the methodology of responsible innovation. We trust species to make good decisions, and we help them when they make mistakes. That is optimistic, Jiwoo said. It is. Ulmara agreed. But your species has given us a reason to be optimistic. You could have used quantum displacement technology as a weapon. You could have destroyed the Council fleet. Instead, you showed restraint. You demonstrated power without using it destructively. That gives me hope. Back on Earth, Dr. Mirai stood in what was now called the Quantum Displacement Hub. It was a massive facility built in Earth orbit, designed to coordinate teleportation across the galaxy. In the past month, 73 species had requested and received the technology. Teleportation networks were being established across thousands of star systems. Engineer Hyunwoo walked up behind her. Do you ever wonder if we moved too fast? If maybe the Council was right to be cautious? Mirai considered the question. Every day. But then, I remember my sister's face when she got the message that Mars Colony would receive food shipments within hours instead of months. I remember the Europan researchers who were going to die before rescue ships could reach them, who were saved because we could teleport supplies directly to them. I remember all the good this technology has already done. And the bad? Hyunwoo asked. There have been accidents. The Vortian colony that lost 17 people when their teleportation platform malfunctioned. The pirates who tried to use quantum displacement for robbery and ended up scattered across 3 star systems. I know, Mirai said quietly. And I carry that weight. But we are learning. We are improving the safety protocols. We are teaching others how to use this responsibly. That is more than the Council ever did. They just said no and expected everyone to obey. Captain Daehyun entered the hub, followed by Lieutenant Jinwoo. Jinwoo had recovered fully from his historic jump and had become something of a celebrity across the galaxy, the first being to successfully teleport across interstellar distances. Dr. Mirai, Daehyun said, we need you to look at something. Hyunwoo too. They moved to a monitoring station. On the display was a star map showing quantum signatures across the galaxy. Most were expected, showing active teleportation networks, but at the edge of the map, beyond the galactic rim, something else appeared. What is that? Mirai asked. Unknown signals, Jinwoo said. We detected them 3 hours ago. They are not like our quantum signatures. They are older, more complex. Whatever is creating them has been using quantum displacement technology for a very long time. How long? Hyunwoo asked. Thousands of years, maybe longer. The signal patterns suggest a level of sophistication far beyond what we have achieved. Mirai felt a chill run down her spine. There is another civilization out there. One that mastered teleportation long before we did. One the Council never mentioned. Maybe the Council did not know, Daehyun suggested. Or maybe they did know, and kept it secret. Either way, we need to investigate. Agreed, Director Salmon said, entering the hub. She had been listening to the conversation. Humanity has proven we can innovate and survive. Now, we need to prove we can explore responsibly. I am authorizing an expedition beyond the Galactic Rim. Captain Daehyun will command. The crew will be multi-species, representing the new cooperative. Over the next month, the expedition was assembled. 23 species contributed crew members, each bringing unique skills and perspectives. The ship was called the Times Unity Asterisk, a name chosen to represent the new era of cooperation. Dr. Mireille and Engineer Hyunwoo were both assigned to the expedition as chief scientists. Lieutenant Jinwoo volunteered as the quantum displacement specialist. The crew numbered 147 beings from across the galaxy. On the day of departure, Ambassador Jiwoo stood at the orbital dock to see them off. You are going further than anyone has gone before. Not just in distance, but in cooperation. You represent what the galaxy can become when we work together instead of limiting each other. Daehyun clasped her hand in the human gesture of farewell. We will make you proud, Ambassador. All of us. The Times Unity Times departed Earth orbit, using conventional faster-than-light drives to reach the edge of the galaxy. Once there, they would use quantum displacement to jump into unknown space, following the mysterious signals. Mireille stood on the bridge as they prepared for the first jump. Around her, beings from 24 different species worked together, their differences becoming strengths instead of divisions. This was what the Council had feared. Not chaos, but unity. Not destruction, but cooperation. Ready for quantum jump, Hyunwoo announced. All stations report ready, Daehyun said. On my mark. 3, 2, 1. Jump. Reality folded. The Times Unity Times disappeared from known space and emerged in the darkness beyond the galactic rim. There, hanging in the void like a jewel, was something impossible. A structure. Massive beyond comprehension. It stretched for light years, built from materials that should not exist. And throughout the structure, quantum signatures pulsed like a heartbeat. What is that? Jinwoo whispered. That, Mireille said slowly, is what we have been looking for. That is proof we are not alone. That is the future. The crew of the Times, Unity Times, stared at the structure in awe. They had come seeking answers about the quantum signals. They had found something far more significant. Evidence of a civilization so advanced, so old, that it made both humans and the Council seem like children. And somewhere in that structure, Mireille knew, were secrets that would change everything they understood about the universe. Begin scanning, Captain Daehyun ordered. Full spectrum analysis. I want to know everything about that structure. As the crew worked, Mireille thought about the journey that had brought them here. It started with railguns, a simple technology that the Council feared. It continued with quantum displacement, a breakthrough that shattered 10,000 years of control. And now it led to this moment, standing at the threshold of mysteries beyond imagination. The Council had tried to keep the galaxy safe by keeping it limited. They failed to understand that safety without growth was just slow death. Humanity had proven that progress required risk, that innovation required courage, and that the greatest discoveries came from refusing to accept limits. The galaxy was changing, not because humans were superior, but because humans refused to stop reaching for impossible things. And now, with the cooperative formed and dozens of species working together, that reach extended further than ever before. Engineer Hyunwoo looked at the massive structure and smiled. You know what this means, right? Whatever species built that, they figured out quantum displacement thousands of years ago. And they did not destroy themselves. They did not fall into chaos. They built something incredible. The Council was wrong, Lieutenant Jinwoo said. Advanced technology does not have to lead to destruction. It can lead to this, to wonder, to achievement beyond anything we imagined. Captain Daehyun placed a hand on Mirei's shoulder. Doctor, you started this by helping create teleportation technology. Where do you think it will end? Mirei looked at the structure, at the crew working together, at the galaxy spread out behind them. She thought about all the species that were now free to innovate, to explore, to reach for their own impossible dreams. It does not end, she said quietly. That is the whole point. We keep going. We keep learning. We keep pushing forward. And maybe someday, we will build something just as incredible as that. The Times Unity Times moved closer to the mysterious structure, carrying representatives of 23 species united in purpose. Behind them, across the galaxy, hundreds of civilizations were discovering what they could achieve when fear no longer held them back. The Council's control was broken. The galaxy would never be the same. And humanity, the young upstart species that refused to accept limits, had sparked a revolution that would echo across the stars for millennia to come. The age of limitation was over. The age of possibility had begun.